first read the Sacred and the Profane, it took me a long time. I felt like it was over my head. The vocabulary was very intense. A lot of words that I've never even seen before were like right after another. But this is such a very physiological literature, and it had so many great concepts and ideas that I do think that it was a little over my head when I first started reading it, and that challenged me a lot. It had a lot of different ideas within one idea, or a lot of ways of explaining it, that so it talked about how on page 12 it says, by manifesting the sacred, an object becomes something else, yet it continues to remain itself, but it is participated in that cosmic. And then it talks about how the stone, and the stone is still a stone, but to somebody it is more than a stone. To somebody it revealed itself to, it's more than a stone. So that's something that I thought was pretty cool. I felt like it talked more about sacredness and the cross between that, and how a man who is non-religious can still have those sacred experiences. And how for someone who lives life is profane, they think that eating and sex is just an organic phenomenon, that it's just body, and how it's human nature, it's natural, that's what our bodies do. But for a primitive and for a sacred, that eating and sex and communion with the sacred is a sacred moment. Like, that is meaningful and holds a lot of value, and you put a lot of value to that. And how those are the two modes of life. But then it starts to go into, in fact, that the profane is never just entirely profane. A profane life is always going to have some sacredness in them, like a burial, or like a tree. To me, that tree is just a tree, but to this family, that is the tree that took their son, took the life of their son, and that will forever hold value to them. And, or like a gravesite, or the house you grew up in, because that was your house you grew up in. To any other person, it's just a house, but to you, that is, and you don't have to be a religious person to have that sacredness. I feel like that is what it talks basically the most about, and just gives a bunch of other examples of that, and talks about the branch between a non-sacred space to a sacred space, and how like the street, it talks about the street and the house, and how that like is the threshold, the limit, the boundary, the frontier, that is the bridge of opportunity, like a baptism. When it talked about that, I thought about a baptism, because before it's baptism, it's you don't know Jesus, and then after is you've accepted the Lord and Savior, but the baptism is the accepting of the Lord as your Savior. So I thought that was interesting. The more that I've just thought about it, I've thought that so many of these points are saying the same thing. And then when it brought into the chaos in the cosmos, it talked a little bit basically about the same thing, I think, but it was talking about that something that does not yet have something like the land, something that is over there that doesn't hold any value. It will hold value to me, because I thought of war. It's not mine yet, and it will be mine, and it will be valuable to me. Or how people are possessive of like people they like, or like girls are like, that's not my boyfriend, but he's gonna be my boyfriend. And that it's just not theirs yet, and it will be their boyfriend, and then they'll get married, and that's sacred or whatever. So I did really enjoy this perspective and this idea and this thought. I thought it was pretty great. I made lots of little notes, and they're all kind of like ideas that interested me or that I thought held value or important. Lots of notes, the vocabulary looked up. I thought this was an interesting take on this, and it was interesting to see the proof of it written down of that mental sacred and non-sacred, and then even a non-religious person can still have those sacred moments, and it can hold something sacred to them. So I really appreciated this. I think it challenged me, but I enjoyed reading it and trying to understand it the best that I can. I also really loved all the questions. It really helped me keep it on track and what I was supposed to be getting it and how to keep me understanding and not to leave me lost. I don't know what I would have done without him, or if I wouldn't even got him without them. So I really did. These really helped me out a lot. To keep me on track and to keep me from understanding it, and to keep me, oh yeah, I am understanding it now, so, nice.